when we talk about critiquing, it's like you should be taking feedback on, but then like they never teach you on how to deliver feedback. And I think that's really important on both sides. So whether it's like a product manager comes to you with some wireframes and you're like, dude, what are you doing? Right? Or whether as a client, it's like, hey, I just mocked this up in Canva, and you're just like, what's going on? You can't be an asshole in both situations. So you have to think about how do you deliver feedback. And then the other side, which we speak more about, is receiving feedback, which is like people are busy with their own shit. So they're going to come to you and they'll be like, I don't really like that. Change that. And then how do you react? That is also something that's really key, like just critiquing in general. And if you work on larger design teams, let's just say you have like 30 designers and you have a review every Friday, your shit is going to get grilled, right? So it's pretty daunting when you have something like that and you're like, oh no, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm worthless, all this stuff, right, that comes up. How do you feel about critique, man?
First of all, designers are ruthless because they only look for the mistakes. They never say something positive in feedback rounds. So don't worry, that's normal. And the second thing is, even if a non-design person client comes back and says something and they say, I don't like this, then another soft skill that I would add is listening, because they're usually not actually saying what they mean. They're just saying how they think they communicated well to you. So if they say, I don't like this font, for example, or make the logo bigger, classic, then it's not actually that the logo needs to be bigger or that the font needs to be changed. Maybe it's the color, maybe it's the background image, maybe it's the spacing. You know, there's so many other things that they don't really consider before just telling you what they think is really, really bad, that you as a designer who actually is the professional in that scenario needs to figure out what is it that they actually don't like about this and how can I change it without doing the change that they requested, because that's absolutely ridiculous. So listening in that. But in terms of how do I handle feedback that's sometimes comes across as like a disastrous breakdown of my life, I like to tell myself that I take it very well. My wife says I don't, especially when it comes from her. And I've just redesigned her website for her, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But you always need to listen for the truth. And I think, especially with the visual aspects of design, you need to keep an open mind. No matter how much you like your design, you can't get too attached. Everyone has a different taste. And even though there are design principles, there's always still room for taste. Yes, design is not art. I know, come grill me, but it is like, it's subjective, especially the visual bit. So if it comes down to that, then I just try to consider it and just try to show them how it would look if I just do exactly what they want me to do as part of the feedback. And then usually you can find a middle ground, because you can argue something like, yeah, but if we do it like this, then the contrast is low or whatever, like too much space here and there. But if it's feedback on a flow, or like if you go really, really early, like, oh, this sitemap doesn't make sense, or like information architecture, there usually is a right and a wrong, or at least a better and a worse. And you can always back that up with some sort of data. With that data, it's not always the amount of clicks, because sometimes you can have a better flow with more clicks versus one with less. But it's about how do people actually use it. You can get your research in it. You can reference back to things that you found out and used as data and as a base to then come up with that design. So purely visual, just take it on, consider it for a minute. And I need to practice that myself. But I think that from my experience, that is the best way to go about it. And then for anything else where you actually have it backed off data and people who are also designers are critiquing that, just let them know why you did it. And then maybe they have a different point of view that they can also explain and back up. And then you can still find a middle ground. It's extremely collaborative in both scenarios. And I think we just need to detach our egos a little bit when it comes to feedback.
There's another soft skill that I want to mention within critiquing. I think it's about the setup. What do you want feedback on? Where are you in the process? What's decided? What's not? So it's about setting that environment to kind of extract the feedback you need, because you probably don't need free-form feedback, because that's probably the worst, depending on which part of the design. Because then you're like, dude, who cares about that? That's why we have stages of design, like wireframes versus high fidelity mocks, right? We've gone past those iterations. So setting up how to do critique, like if you're in a group setting, it could be silent critique, right? Lots of different ideas, early stages, or a specific flow, a specific feature, whatever it is. I think that is interesting. So linking to the other soft skill, which is really important, and to your listening soft skill, which is asking good questions. This one is so important. And exactly to what you said, where it's like, hey, change that font or make that logo bigger. You're listening, but then you're like, well, what are they actually saying? So you're just like following clearing up the question, obviously the classic 5 whys, that's actually, I think, one of the key soft skills. If I was to rank it, that would be top 3 for me all time.
I get it. I put listening and asking questions part of communications. That's why for me it's definitely number one. But if you break it down like that, for sure top 3. Because as designers, the core of our job is to solve a problem, and we need to understand it in order to solve it. If we can't take on feedback or actually dig deep and find out what people are actually upset about, then how are we meant to solve anything? So
Right.
yeah, completely agree with you there.
Let's talk about like 0 to 1, right? Like if you had to start again today with kind of getting into UX, the landscape has drastically changed. What are some of the things that they can think about getting into a UX career?
Number one, as I said earlier, start sharing. When you start sharing, you are starting to build your personal brand. When you're building your personal brand, get clear on your mission. Where do you want to go? For me, it was from the beginning, day 0, pretty much. I knew I would never take a job that requires me to go to the office. So one non-negotiable for me was it has to be 100% remote. That for you could also be, I need to work as a freelancer. I need to work as a staff designer, like in-house designer, full-time, whatever. Make a list of non-negotiables and where you want to go. Then learn about your stuff, keep sharing, be consistent in your sharing as well. So if you're really busy or you just can't be asked to do your social media, I'm horrible at the moment. Post once a week, same time, same day, every week. Then if you kind of get the hang of that, start boosting it up to twice a week and then go as high as you want. But like, I think twice a week already sets a pretty good baseline of where you're kind of regular enough to grab people's attentions, but still have time to do other stuff. Don't waste time too early on to apply for loads and loads of jobs. Then have a good portfolio. One thing that I have noticed over the years is that your portfolio is just a proof of concept, because people don't just go around and search for portfolios. They either get to your portfolio through a link in your resume that you've sent them or through social media. So where you want to make yourself easily findable is social media. And you do that again with your personal brand. So keep showing up, keep sharing, build your personal brand, have a really, really clear tone of voice and mission and like what you stand for and what you want to be known for, which is your design work. With that, then kind of steer people to check out your portfolio, like have a link in your bio or link to your website, maybe in your featured section, anything like that. Just think about creating an easy user journey for the people that you want as your clients. If I'm a client, I need someone who does UX design, then I would look for UX designers. And if I find some UX designer who is constantly spoken about within the design community on LinkedIn, I think that's like some legit person. So I then go check out that person, go onto that portfolio, check out the case studies. And if I like what I see, I get in touch and need that person for my project. So what we are trying to do as career transitioners, starters, or people who are just getting more clients, we want to make ourselves extremely easy to find. The best way to do that is to build a strong personal brand on LinkedIn. From my experience, I've done other platforms very, very briefly, but LinkedIn is the number one B2B platform. And that's why I completely only focus on that now. So if I had to do it again, just hyper focus on LinkedIn and kind of making a name for myself by sharing about my design journey, because then I do 2 things at once. I get the attention and steer people to check out my projects. I am getting reassurance by other designers that are kind of speaking about me and doing all that stuff that supports my credibility. And I get people to find me easy. So that is the main thing that I would do. And then in terms of trying to get clients, and then once you have clients, just say yes to everything. Every single project is going to teach you something and is going to get you a step further. You're going to learn from it. You're going to make a little bit of money from it. And you're going to get a testimonial, which is pure gold in the freelance or job search world. So that's how I would go about it.
Love that.
How about you? What would you do differently? Because you've been in the game for longer than I have.
Good question. For me, it was always like,
Want to listen to the full conversation? Click the video on screen now. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join us live. Oh, wait. Okay, fine, you don't have to join us for the live stream, but if you like stuff like this, then click that subscribe button. I'll see you on the inside. Bye!